Well, hello, everyone. I thought it was time for another personal share. And if you're new to this channel, welcome. And my personal shares are an update of where I'm at on this apparent awakening process or deepening process after an awakening, whatever seems to be happening here. The first thing I want to say is I I don't make any claims about anything. I'm not, it's so weird. I am no longer certain of anything anymore. And it's like, I just don't know anything anymore. And so I don't make any claims about where I'm at, what has happened. I'm simply speaking from the things that have happened and what appears to be happening here, but I can't say for sure. So I'm not making any claims. But it appears something is happening or has happened that has, over the last several years, totally changed my perspective on life, about the nature of reality and consciousness, and most importantly, my identity has shifted. Um, yeah, and before I go further than that, again, for new subscribers, welcome, thank you. And I think I've said this before, like, why are you here? I really don't offer very much, but I so appreciate you being here. And I wanted to say that, the name of this channel is Realistic Spirituality. And then in the beginning, I had grand plans um, to offer wisdom and perhaps some teachings in a very realistic, real world, real terminology kind of way. Just take these big esoteric topics like awakening, enlightenment, kundalini, you name it, all the perhaps Indian terms, and just talk about them at like an elementary level so that anybody could understand them with simple, real words, and talk about how they would be experienced in life in real life situations, but also talk about the real life experience from a real ordinary person, talk about the nitty gritty, ugly parts of awakening in a real way, not in some fluffed up, fanciful kind of way when you hear all these interviews like on Batgap. So that's why I called the channel Realistic Spirituality, because I wanted it to be real, sincere, an ordinary human being who's just stumbling through life and stumbled upon this awakening process and honestly doesn't know what the hell's going on, but has learned a lot over the years. So I'm just sharing them with you. And, you know, this, I just made a comment about the interviews. There's this that big Bat Gap channel. It's called Buddha at the Gas Pump. And the whole premise of that channel in the beginning, I think still is about interviewing ordinary, everyday people who have had awakenings and are in the awakening process. And I've watched about all of their interviews. I think there's well over 600 at this point. And while I totally love the interviews and the people are wonderful and all the interviews have helped me in some way understand my own journey, thus I can convey to you. But to me, totally not ordinary people. I mean, every single one of them are some teacher of some kind, have written a book, they have massive followings, they're doing massive research. I mean, their lives are so fantastical and so unrelatable to me, the ordinary person, Joe Schmo. And I can't really relate. If I had a dream, I would love to do the same type of interview show, but to have real people like you and me talking about our journeys and sharing our stories and all the muck and the mire and the horribleness of it, you know, all the hell that you go through on this journey, but also share all the beautiful experiences and how do we live our lives, our ordinary lives in our shit jobs and just interacting with people. What happens, how do you navigate that, how do you walk your talk in an ordinary everyday life where no one knows what's going on with you, right? When you're not being seen or recognized or put on a pedestal so that you always have to act your best. I mean, to me, that's so unreal. I want to know, I want to talk to you. Yeah. So that was the whole premise of this channel, although it's kind of teetered off into some weird things, energy reports and oracle sessions, but those are just for fun. Anyway, so for my new subscribers, that's just a little background. And I've done several personal shares over the years that chronicle an increasing or deepening from initial awakening, going through like dark night of the soul, God, turmoil, all kinds of emotional upsets, and then awakening to this like no self, and that was so disarming, and I don't know. Anyway, so it's chronicled. And so where am I at now? I'm kind of, I don't really know. I would say I've kind of reached a twilight moment, a decision, a finality moment, and you'll understand what I mean. If you watch the Codon Ring of No Return, I speak about in more in depth of where I'm currently at and the things that have happened. I don't know if I'll share those experiences here. Maybe. I just don't want to make this too long, but undoubtedly it's going to be long. So hang on, get your glass of wine. I actually have a little wine today. I very rarely drink, but I just thought might be a good time. Why the heck not? I'm free to be me today. Anyway, have a little sip. Okay, a little Pinot Grigio. Let's see, where was I? So where am I at? So a couple months ago, I think I'm kind of reaching like a plateau time, a waiting period. And a plateau is kind of like a high plane, you know what a plateau is. And this is kind of what it feels like. I've kind of reached this certain point after some experiences that I'll share or realizations or awakenings that I'm going to be sitting here for quite a while. And this plateau is, it's a pretty open and objective perspective, but there's going to be a lot of work, maybe not so much actively outward work or internal work. I think it's just a time where the universe works on you. And you have to let go and let the universe or the cosmos work through you. So I'm kind of, this is where I think I'm at. Feels like it. I'll be here for a while. So previously, a couple months ago, maybe longer than that, I had another deep awakening, realization, or touching into this place of pure divinity or para-Brahman. And these are not my words for it, other people who have described it and have confirmed this experience or this reality. I don't know what to call it, but I touched into and woke up to. And it's kind of like when you enter into or realize that zone of reality, there's no going back. You can't, it doesn't let go of you. I mean, I suppose if the awakening or touching into it was strong enough, it was very strong for me. It just blew me out of the water, and it has left its mark. Now, I'm not saying that pure divinity is working within this vessel, but it's doing something to 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 clean out this vessel more. Um, so let's see. Where am I at? What is I think I'll just share. I may have jotted down a few notes. Um, kind of what my everyday life is like. Um, so when I said earlier that, my whole perspective of life has shifted, nature of reality, that has. But when I say my identification has shifted, for those who are not don't know what that means, in your normal everyday person and before, your sense of self was this body, the mind, the personality, and then at a certain level, and it, so that you have sorry, the wine is already kicking in, and your sense of self is this mind, body, personality, and maybe even your thoughts, and that was one identification I had. And then I woke up to, I think I call it self-realization of everything is consciousness. And I was identified as consciousness. But then there's an awakening that snaps you out of that identification into what they call no self-identification, where you realize there was never any self here, no ego, nothing. And how that is experienced for me is my identification, which has been stable for the last 2 years at least, is my sense of self is no longer anything of this body, mind, thoughts, emotions, anything. It is simply this space right here, this empty space. This is, in fact, I can't even find myself. I can't find myself at all. When I go looking for myself, there's nothing there. But what I feel and sense is that I am this space everywhere, all around. And that's who I am. And I feel that into the core, into my bones of my being. There's no doubt about that. I am just simply this space, which is beyond consciousness. And it was awareness itself, but after touching into pure divinity, it has gone beyond awareness itself. Perhaps it's like awareness and then what comes before awareness. I can't explain it. I don't need to explain it. That's just how it feels to me. It's like the realm of all potential that nothing has happened yet. Okay, not even awareness. So that's how I sense myself. Now in my everyday life, when I'm doing stuff, when my awareness and consciousness is, I think Rupert Spira has stretched out, when I'm being the individual, playing the individual role and personal self and doing stuff, I'm like every normal person doing stuff. My conscious, I'm focused on what I'm doing, just normal everyday activity. But what is also there is a witness that's witnessing. And I would say that this, for me, this witness is different from the observer. So I think the term observing oneself, being the observer, that is like, I think the mind can observe itself. In fact, I know this, the mind can observe itself, and it's an activity of observing the thoughts and the activity. And what the witness is, well, the witness is not non-activity. It's nothing. It's this space of nothingness that is witnessing the observer, observing, and all the thoughts and everything. It's the one witness that is witnessing. So there's a witness, no longer an observer. Well, there's a witness and an observer. Anyway, watching all 3 or 4. I don't know. You get what I'm saying. I don't drink often, but when I do, it kicks in fast. Anyway, so when I'm stretched out, normal, but there is always that witness. Now, when I'm slowing down and awareness like comes back in, and I'm resting in self, what has been my constant and stable experience or sense of life is that, um, like I said, I sense myself as the space, but then, and it happens so often, and it's been stable for a couple of years now, so it feels real and stable, this awakening. Um, I feel myself as this space, but also simultaneously, it feels like a play, like everything turns real 3D and gets really small, and nothing seems real, but it seems more real at the same time, and yet not real. And it feels like I'm in a little dollhouse and I'm a little tiny doll, and everything around me is a tiny little prop. And simultaneously, I'm also the kid playing and manipulating all the props around me, all simultaneously. Yeah. So I get like the global and the local view all at once. And also a stable experience is that I can be walking, and if I'm real centered and in my belly or solar plexus and just in total nothingness, then I can also get a sense of what's below my feet. Like one time I felt, oh, there are bones way down in there from a long time ago. Like I can see the earth and everything that's going on. I can, like right now, underneath my feet, I can sense the wood beneath me. I can feel the dampness of the crawl space and the damp floor and the air. And I can go all the way into the earth. So there's this like sensing of everything. Um, so I don't know what you call that, but that's been a stable way of experiencing this. And I'm sharing this because these are the kind of magical experiences. I wouldn't call them experiences, but how you can sense reality when you've had these kind of awakenings, or having your awareness pulled back, like opened fully wide. So these are the wonderful things, and each person is going to experience things differently. This is just how it shows up for me. What else? Let's see. And sometimes I can get a history, and I can see all the way through. Like if I see like a product made, or a product or a glass or a tree, I can just see all the layers in it and maybe history of how an item was made when I wouldn't have previously known that. So, okay, enough of that. You get my point. Um, what else? So those are kind of like the phenomenal things that are happening and are stable. Um, but in my deconstruction process, ego deconstruction, I'm at this point after pure divinity. Pure divinity you can't embody something like that without the heart being cleaned out and opened. And that's what I've been going through. I kind of went through a real kind of hellish dark period about a month or two ago that was really needed. I really needed it. It was good. And that's what pure divinity, it comes in, it says, you can't have this darkness in your heart. And I talked about on the other video how I had my teacher um, who was working on healing me and has helped me quite a bit and confirmed many of these awakenings. Her name is Danny Antman. She's she calls herself a Jewish yogi, beautifully enlightened, beautiful teacher, healer. And she has a wonderful book, Wired for God. I totally recommend it. It's easy read, but it's great. Anyway, she noticed that I had not only an entity, which most people have entities attached to them all the time because they're attracted to, dark emotions and things like that. But that this was a rather strong entity based on a contract that I had made in a previous life. And so that was binding my heart, that was keeping it blocked from fully opening. And I could feel that. And she could see it. And she recommended that I do some mantras, some Sanskrit mantras, and really look deep into my being, whether I wanted to let go of this darkness. And anyone out there would go, well, of course, why wouldn't you let go of it? And even though my mind and I felt like my whole body was saying yes, there was a part of me that was like tiny bit clinging to that darkness. And when I say darkness, I don't necessarily mean being demonic or doing evil things. I'm talking about being more comfortable in the darker emotions, your shadow emotions, the self-doubt, the self-hatred, the kind of, oh, I hate this kind of world. And for me in particular, being very attracted to or feeling, oh, how do I want to put this? It's going to sound terrible, more in alignment with things like demonic movies. And here's where it came from. When I was a child, and Kundalini was already active. You could have a rising Kundalini in a previous life, and when you come into the next, it's still there. And many people have talked about when they come in as children and they have lots of karma to deal with, that, and Kundalini is active as children, they will attract dark beings, or there's contracts, and they have to do a little bit of battle with the dark. And I was absolutely one of them. Absolutely had a dark being show up, and I was very attracted to the occult. The Exorcist was like my favorite movie. I was more aligned with, and it came from self-hatred. Okay, so I was more aligned with feeling like evil and darkness and awful, that I felt more comfortable in that realm. And that carried along with me throughout my very karmic 20s, 30s, maybe not so much 40s, but in those years I would have shadow beings showing up. I was very suicidal. It was very karmic stuff. Okay. So this last month or so, in dealing with this, in order to release my heart, I had to, at a soul level, or even at an ego level, be willing to let go of that, to let go of the fear of not knowing joy, of not knowing love or all the good feelings. When we become so, when our life has been, say, fully, like, anxiety has been our friend. Okay, mine has been self-hatred, self-doubt. It's been my friend. And sadness, and it's just been with me my entire life, or as long as I can remember, and not wanting to be here. And it becomes comfortable for you. It's safe. And so to let go of, say, your anxiety or whatever it is, you don't know what's on the other side. You know it's better, but you've never really touched into it. So the place of anxiety or darkness or self-hatred becomes your safe place. And I had to be willing to jump to the other side. And so I did that practice. I had another person work on me and get rid of some entities and all that sort of stuff, and remove the binding around my heart. And while their stuff worked, it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked had I not engaged in that mantra. I mean, it really was coming from my soul that I'm ready to take that leap to open my heart. Long story short, it appears to have been worked. My heart has felt more open, more willing to engage, or at least willing to open up. It's not that I'm out there sending love or feeling love. In fact, love at this point, the experience of a human kind of love I don't think let's see, I'm not making sense. Love has a different feel to it. I think after awakening, it feels a little bit more non-emotional or non-active. I don't know how to explain it, but there's a willingness here to open my heart, open that chakra, and just be willing. I'm willing and happy to open to my neighbors who have been quite a source of frustration and anger, and dare I say a little bit of hatred, because they keep me up so many nights with all of their noise. Anyway, so that worked, and it's opened my heart. And then what else has happened? And then, well, you may not, if you watch the other video, I'm going to just tell the story again. I had another kind of awakening or vision where I was I was inside my brain, and I was seeing the pineal gland and the 1,000-petal lotus. And while that was absolutely gorgeous, that wasn't the point of the vision. I don't know why I was inside my head, but I found myself in this just glorious space, this state. And what happened was, in that space, out of nowhere, I felt this rising up of a statement just coming out of like the ocean of nothingness, rising up out of in me. And I don't remember the exact words, but it was something like, yes, now I am ready to let go of all attachments to needing to feel worthy, to be recognized, to be seen. I'm perfectly willing to live a very quiet, unseen, ordinary life without videos, without needing to be heard, to be talking, all that sort of stuff. And what I said in the other video is that it was so pure and so clean. It didn't come from my ego. There was no emotionality to it. Whereas previously, years back when I was in Dark Night of the Soul, I was like, yes, I'm willing to be a nobody, and crying about it. And you could know that there was still ego attachment. There was fear with that emotionality. It was like, yeah, I'm saying I'm willing to do this, but I'm not sure I really want to. But in this, it was so pure, it was so beautiful. I really felt like it came from my soul. And it was like another initiation. And according to that video, it was like the initiation of this Hebrew letter, number 18, where it's about finality and solutions. And it's kind of like, to be or not to be. Are you ready to let it all go for the sake of God? And that was it. I totally am and was, and I said yes to that statement. And it was funny, after that vision, a couple of days later, maybe it might have been the next night, I had a dream, and not a subconscious working things out dream, but one of those dreams that are real, real, real. And I was in my house, or I was in a house, and anyway, it was my house. I realized it was my house, and it was totally being taken apart all the way down to the studs. I mean, we don't need Carl Jung to tell us what that means. Obviously, something is shifting, and my whole house, this vessel, is being totally deconstructed to be rebuilt. And then after that, I had another one of those visions, experiences. And once again, out of the ocean of nothingness came this declaration. That's the word I was looking for. Declaration that I'm willing to let go of control of my neck. I'm really, the back of my neck. I let go of the control of the back of my neck, and I give my throat to the universe. I surrender my throat and my neck to the universe. And if you're not familiar, the back of the neck is the seat of the ego and the seat of divine will. And this is where the battle takes place constantly. This is why so many of us have sore necks, or we get headaches back here, because there's a battle. between ego will and divine will, or what your true self or inner truth really wants you to do. So that's the area of contention. And that's the area that I let go, and the throat about. And once again, I'm going to get, this is so weird. This happened in the other video. So giving the throat, the neck to the cosmos to do its magic. Like I'm letting go of all control. And what I'm finding, excuse me, I may need another drink of wine. Silly me, hold on. So, where was I? Yeah, so the image, so I had like an image that came to me to kind of describe what this deconstruction process is all about. Is I saw an image of, when you go on overseas vacation or a really long vacation, you're like totally loaded down with all these bags. You got your purse, you've got carry-ons, you've got all these bags strapped around you, and you're carrying this and you're pulling something, who knows, you may even have a hat. You've got all this stuff, all this luggage. And that's this, process of awakening. And through this awakening and ego deconstruction, you're like taking off pieces of luggage, right? And maybe my analogy or my story is, or metaphor is more geared towards women. But we can let go of all the luggage and it feels so great. But what is that one thing that we women, we hold on to? It's like our purse. Now, maybe for men, it's the wallet, or maybe nowadays it's the cell phone, right? Our whole identification is wrapped up into that one thing. Like for women, the purse is like the thing that we're never going to go without. And it's going to be, it's our purse. We've picked it out. It represents our personality. It's our whole uniqueness. Maybe that's the same way for a cell phone or a man's wallet. But, it carries all of our essential stuff, all the stuff that makes us us. And it was that purse that I'm just dropping. I don't care anymore. I honestly don't care anymore. And ever since this, I let go of the throat and the neck, and I realize I'm doing a lot of talking on this video. But I honestly, I just don't want to talk anymore. I more than ever, I've always loved silence and required silence in this life. It's like silence, but now I need even more silence. Like I don't want to engage this area anymore. It feels like there's some construction going on. It feels like more going inward or just letting go. I don't know how to explain it. I'm astonished that I'm talking as much as I am, but the wine helps. Anyway, what else do I want to say? Yeah, there are just so many subtle changes. Many of them have been going on for the last year or so. It's like you lose all motivation for anything. Like for me, the spiritual seeking, the esoteric knowledge, it's all gone. Like I have no desire to seek, to learn anything new. It's just gone. That ended a long time ago, but it's kind of coming back, but for different reasons, maybe to share some knowledge or wisdom. But all of that's gone. I have no real passion. I mean, my only passion since I can remember has been for this total liberation of the ego and to be totally and utterly absorbed into the absolute and to be the clearest, cleanest vessel that I possibly can be in this lifetime. So that's my one passion. But as far as physical, external passions, I don't know what they are. I mean, in my everyday life, like you're probably wondering, what do I spend my life doing? It's so simple. I don't do a whole lot. basically, I just let life come to me. I let life move me. Um, the things I absolutely love to do. I don't know if they're a passion, but I do get my joy out of it is I love caring for my little feline friends and all the other animals out here and around, possums, the raccoons, and all the birds. Like I feed the birds and I feed everything. And I just utterly love to watch them and care for them and nurture them and give my undivided attention to all the little kitty cats. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to watch. And I'll tell you what happens is when I'm really with with a person too, but when I'm physically like I'm not around physically people an awful lot, but like with my cats, it's a beautiful thing that happens. Like I'm totally there with them. And what happens is my awareness, like I said, goes up to my teacher calls it going into the causal body awareness. And I view what's going on between the two of us and the relationship and the relating. And it's such a beautiful experience. It's like God watching itself interact in these two physical beings and the love that's between them. It's such a beautiful thing. Um, okay, I think what I'm going to do is end this video because it's way too long, but I do have a part two that I want to share with you. So I'm going to stop for now.